Welcome to the Heart of Vermont podcast, a Capital Connection project from Montpelier Alive. We're here to help you get to know Washington County through the people who live here, work here, and help shape this community. Our intention is to help new residents feel connected and to remind longtime locals why they love it here by sharing real stories from around the region. You can find out more about what we do on our website, montpelieralive.com/Capital Connection. The Heart of Vermont podcast is sponsored by Eastrise Credit Union and Community National Bank, Equal Housing Lender member FDIC.
I'm Katie Trouts, the Executive Director of Montpelier Alive.
And I'm Morgan Haynes, Marketing and Communications Manager for Montpelier Alive. I also help manage Capital Connection for Washington County, our Welcome Wagon program through Think Vermont. We work to attract new residents to the state and support folks who've moved here within the past couple of years. For our first episode, I'm excited to be joined by Vivian Ladd Tomasi, Bridge Illumination Coordinator for Montpelier Alive. We'll be talking about all things Bridge Illumination, along with Vivian's passion for volunteerism and community involvement. The music you're hearing at the beginning and end of this episode features The Spring Chickens, recorded live at Positive Pie during Spice on Snow this past March. Let's get into it.
I'm originally from Boston, and I went to school in New York City, and I've lived in Montpelier now for more than 30 years, and I visit those cities often, and I was often struck coming back into town in the evenings by how dark Montpelier appears when you arrive off the highway or traveling around downtown. And part of the reason for that is because we are a city of rivers. This is a place where 4 rivers come together. And in the evenings, rivers are dark. There are, in fact, something like 23 highway, vehicular, pedestrian crossings across those 4 rivers. And I thought, what if we lit up those bridges? What a difference it would make to all of these dark spots throughout the city. So I retired from a career in art museums after 30 years, and I came back home to Montpelier, and I just really wanted to do something for this town that I've lived in. And I approached Katie Trouts and shared my idea. Yeah, she said it's actually been an idea that's been percolating around town. And I said I would apply myself to it and see what we could do. I really wanted to think about the function of each of the bridges, how lighting them could kind of amplify the public's understanding of the function of that bridge within our community. I worked in art museum education. I work with objects and people for decades. So I love to think about objects in place and objects in context. And so we talked to a lot of lighting companies about this concept of doing really thoughtful design that recognizes place and function. And the New England Holiday Light Company was really excited about the possibility. They do the big light show at the Shelburne Museum and at Vin's. We were very impressed with their work, and they were pretty pumped about taking on the challenge. So we lit up Langdon Street in 2023, and it made such a difference. It turned out that year we also had a devastating flood in Montpelier.
Vivian talks about how the 2023 floods really shifted how people experience the bridges. And that's something that we talk a lot about at Montpelier Alive. So I asked our executive director, Katie Trouts, to share a little bit more about that connection.
From my perspective and watching the Bridge Illumination Project unfold, the Bridge Illumination Project became a symbol of hope, a literal beacon of light towards a better future and a more resilient city going forward. We saw that lit bridges can, in fact, raise people's spirits, that it does draw tourism, it improves pedestrian safety. So from there, we started applying for grants, and we were very successful. And within 2 years, we were able to light 10 historic downtown bridges. So now we have our complete set, 5 along the Winooski and 5 along the North Branch. That I've come to learn in my new career in urban planning and development is that you can't build something and then not take care of it.
Right.
And so I'm really committed to sticking with this project. They call me the bridge babysitter now. They obviously, like all things, they need maintenance, they need change. So once a week, I do a little bridge tour and make sure everything's working.
And I can tell when half a bridge isn't lit, and I'm driving home late from work and I'm like, oh, there's this dark spot.
I know it hurts me.
Yeah.
And, it is to be expected. Nothing is infallible. We're asking a lot of these augmented lighting systems. They sit out in the rain and the snow and the ice, and sometimes something gets damaged. We've also wanted to be responsive to the folks who do have some concerns. The biggest concerns we've heard about is light pollution and electricity usage. Right from the beginning, we talked to naturalists about whether there are any issues or damage to the environment or the little critters in the river because we're lighting the bridges. And they assured us that there's no danger there. In a downtown, there's a fair amount of ambient light anyway. We need that for public safety. And so the bridges are only enhancing public safety. They are not increasing exponentially the amount of light pollution that's coming from Montpelier. Even so, we turn off the bridges at 10 or 11 o'clock every night so that folks who do want to stay up late and look at the stars have the opportunity to do that. And all of the bridges use very energy efficient LED lighting. We talked to a lot of people in the beginning when we were planning this, downtown businesses, DPW. I also worked closely with Paul Carnahan and the Vermont Historical Society to get a better understanding of the history of our bridges.
And you took that knowledge and created the walking tour.
I did, yes. Once an educator, always an educator. For the past couple of years, we've done a series of walking tours, and we've collaborated with experts from all of these different areas, historians, naturalists, and created a series of tours to help people understand the role of the bridges in their community, but also to kind of help turn our faces to the river. That was kind of another big initiative after the flood. We recognized that lighting up the bridges could really help our colleagues raise awareness about the sorts of things that cause flooding in Montpelier, the sorts of things that human beings have done to exacerbate the situation we now face in Montpelier, and to give people hope as they learn about what we can do to make things better, to make ourselves a more resilient city. And so it felt like walking tours was the most dynamic way of learning about this environment and sharing that information.
Next, we're going to talk to Vivian about her latest initiative, Community Spruce Up Day. This event will be held this coming Saturday, April 11th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., encouraging community members to come out and help clean up the city after the winter. You can find more information about this initiative on our website, montpelieralive.com. So talking more about groups of people and it takes a village. We know your skills in bridge illumination, but what about volunteerism and really rallying people together and then supporting them in that effort of, volunteering and helping the city and the community?
I just came back from a trip to Ireland where they have this whole tidy town campaign, and every town competes to be recognized as a tidy town. It's kind of this idea that after the long winter, we all could use a little help, and just sweeping the sidewalks and washing some windows and maybe giving some wainscoting a little scrub. All of our houses and yards need a little sprucing up, and so does our city. So I'm hoping that people will turn out and just offer a half an hour of their time or a couple of hours with a friend. I think if we all worked on it together, it would be very light lifting, and maybe we'd have a few less things to complain about.
So what about the people that say, well, that's the city's responsibility or that's the parks department responsibility?
A municipality is made up of a number of partners. I think that DPW here in the city is a really strong partner. We are a city facing aging infrastructure, and that has to be our focus. We have to focus on water and sewer and plowing and electricity and a lot of basic needs. And the Parks Department, too, my gosh, what a bang-up job those folks are doing. There's all kinds of beautiful new trails. We just got 80 new acres in the park. I mean, we are so blessed with the outdoor access that we have here in the city. There's just too much for any one partner to do alone. I think for folks who love to volunteer, who love to meet with their neighbors and roll up their sleeves and accomplish something on a Saturday afternoon, come on and have fun. There's so many people who are civically engaged and who help out in the schools and help out at the library. And trash tramps are like the greatest heroes ever, cleaning up graffiti and cigarette butts all over town. There are so many people doing wonderful things. This is work about making your city shine. And I just think as a community, if we all just rolled up our sleeves a little bit, we could make this town so beautiful. And that lifts all of our spirits.
Thank you so much to Vivian for being the first guest of the Heart of Vermont podcast. It was such a pleasure to be able to sit down with her and really get into the heart of the project. I definitely learned something new today, and I hope you did too. Next, we're going to hear from Courtney, a new resident hailing from Minnesota. She just moved here a few months ago, and I met her at our new resident mixer that we hosted last week at the Berry Social Club in collaboration with the Berry Partnership. Courtney was asked the question, if you could give some advice to someone thinking about moving to Vermont, what would you tell them? Here's how she responded.
Definitely get on housing and doctors as soon as possible. Also, like, be prepared for the rural lifestyles. But that it's going to be, like, there's things to do all the time. And so there's, like, it's not boring at all.
If you're new to Vermont or just looking to get more connected, you can learn more about Capital Connection for Washington County and find local resources, events, and opportunities at montpelieralive.com/capitalconnection. Thanks again to our sponsors, East Rise Credit Union and Community National Bank. If you enjoyed this episode, please share with a friend, neighbor, or someone new to the community. We'll see you next time.